Hi, my name is Sage, and this week I decided I wanted to make a dragon coming out of something. Ooh, at first I thought a cauldron, but then I thought, what if he was coming out of a potion instead? Because I was just thinking about the logistics of how it's gonna stand, and it made more sense as a potion in my head. So to get started, I'm gonna need some tinfoil, some wire, and some clay. Ooh, so now I can take the tinfoil and take some wire and scrunch up a bunch of tinfoil around the wire, because in my mind, the wire is gonna run through the potion bottle and then up through the dragon itself to make everything all nice and sturdy and make it look like that the dragon's coming out of the potion bottle. So now that the bottle is built, it's now time to put clay up top of it. Ooh, and with the power of editing, it takes a few seconds. Yay! And since I have so much wire, just extra wire hanging on there, I decide to cut it off and I don't use any measurements. I eyeball it because I don't do math on this channel. And now it looks like a question mark. Ooh, what's gonna happen next? I put tinfoil over the question mark. Ooh, the question mark is actually the dragon, and he's kind of gonna be like a worm type of dragon, but with like some little wings on his back, because that's cute. And this is where I put clay up top of the tin foil to make him look all dragon-like. I know he's be looking like a snake right now, but that's okay. Gotta trust the process. And the one thing that I'm really being hyper aware of right now is to not make it too heavy so it doesn't just plop over. And speaking of plopping, I've been noticing that the bottle is a little unstable, you know what I'm saying? So I end up giving the bottom of it like a rim, just so it has a better time stabilizing. And this is a montage of me trying to smooth out the dragon. Ooh, and I'm not too worried about making him super smooth, just because I know I'm gonna be adding a bunch of scales and horns, so everything's gonna be a little bit bumpy anyway. And this is where everything takes a steep downhill turn. I could not get his face right for the life of me. At first he looks fine, right? But then it just gradually gets worse and worse, and bam! How come he has one of those chicken things on his head? As the creator of this, I don't know what happened. So then I decide, you know what if I make him look more diabolical? You know what I'm saying? What if I make him more like a skull, like an undead dragon? That dream quickly faded away because I'm like, nah, he just got the ugh now. The ugh for ugly. So naturally, I ripped him apart to put him back together again. And just like last time, I give him an eye and a smile and some horns, and then I turn him around and I'm like, what is that? Half of his face is missing, and that's why angles matter. So I end up adding more clay. I also take off the horns that I just put on because they're gonna get in the way of me smushing and smoothing everything out. So once I get his dragon head looking like a dragon head, I then move on to giving him a thicker neck. Ooh. Then I go back to giving him some horns, and I put them on his face before then going in with the ball stylus and blending the face and the horns together. Next, I roll a small sphere to make an eyeball for him, and then I go back to making some horns and I put them on the side of his face. Ooh. Next, I give him a smile because he'd be looking great. Ooh. And then I go back and give him one more horn at the top of his head, and I do everything that I just did again on the other side. Next, I used a cardboard straw and I cut it on an angle to make a scale shaper. Ooh. And I just press that into the dragon on a somewhat of an angle to make all the imprints, and I just continue to do that the entire way down. Except then I get bored and I move on to something else. And that something else is the wings. Ooh, and I start by making one first, and I use the small wire and fold it up, and then I stick one part out so it looks like a V, and then I take another small wire and loop it within the loops that I already made so it looks like 3 prongs. Next, I twist the middle ones together to make them sturdier before then covering them all with clay. And now I take really thin clay and put them in between the prongs to make the wing shapes. Ooh. And now I use a small ball stylus to give the wing some texture. And this is where I accidentally did everything off screen, so just imagine that I added the wing by smoothing everything out. Then I do the same to the other side, and bam, he has 2 wings now. Yay! Next, I give him his belly belly ridges, ooh, because I don't know what else they're called. And I used my pointy stylus to do so. And this is where I finish up all the scales going down his back. And y'all remember how I added that little rim to the bottle? Well, now I'm gonna make it all decorative, ooh, and I take my small ball stylus and just kind of put a bunch of ridges in it, because why not? Next, I just do a bunch of random touch-ups, just a little bit of everything everywhere before he finally looks like this, and now he's ready to go into the oven. But then disaster strikes, his wing fell off, oh no, but it's okay, I have Gorilla Glue, not sponsored. And since the wing got a little deformed in the oven because it's a little bit crumbly because it fell off because it went ploop, it doesn't fit exactly on the way that it should, but it is good enough for me. But now I get to paint the potion bottle purple, and I decided to go with purple because purple is magical. But don't get attached to this color because it just turned out really streaky after it dried and stuff, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna change that later, but that's a later problem. But first, this is a transition of 1 layer to 2 layers. And complete side note, look at what color it turned my water. Doesn't it look like you just want to drink it? I do, but I don't because I know better, but it looks so good. And since this dragon is giving me green vibes, I decided to go with the green color, and I am also mixing this green so you'll see lots of different hues because I am just trying my best. I don't have a big green tube of paint, so I just mix the yellow and blue together and hope for the best, and this is what I got. And while I let that dry for the first layer, I then go in with the yellow to make the horns a yellow color. But get this, I'm a messy painter, right? So I ended up getting some of the green onto the horns, and then the yellow just wasn't covering it the way that I wanted it to, so this is gonna be a later problem that's gonna be solved with a shimmery paint, ooh, and if you've seen other videos on my channel, you know which one it is. Next, I paint his belly ridges, and I paint everything all yellow as well to match his horns. After that, I go into his scale ridges, and I try to get all the nooks and crannies in there with a blue color just to make the scales pop more because it's dark against light. And I continue to do this all the way down until his scale ridges are completely covered. And now I go over his scales again in various hues of the green, and I also cover up any of the blue that I've gotten outside of the ridges. That's why I was just whatever, it's fine, it's supposed to get everywhere because it'll be covered up later. Then I move on to painting his eyes, and I paint them black because that's just cute. I also paint his lips black to match his eyes because that just made sense in my head for some reason. And this is what he looks like so far, but then I decided, you know what, I need to work on something else right now, and something else is the label of the potion bottle. And so I took a piece of paper, put it in coffee, hung it to dry, and then bam, label. I also obviously wrote some words on it as well, and put a little flame. And remember before I told you about the potion bottle being all streaky and I didn't like it, so I changed the color and I used a fan brush instead, and this is what it looks like. Then I skip back to doing the horns, and I paint them the gold shimmery color. Yes, it's so shimmery and glittery, and I just love it so much, it's reflective. And then I do a couple of layers, and bam, you can really see it now. I also painted the bones in the wings gold as well, and his belly because why not? I love this color so much. I also repainted the potion bottle as well off camera because I don't know, it was bothering me. So I repainted it with this color and I mixed it myself, so I'm pretty proud. And this is me using a Posca, which is a paint pen, so it's a pen that's full of paint and it's always ready to go, and I used that to put the glimmer in his eyes. So then I put some hot glue at the top of the potion bottle before getting some fake snow that I got from the dollar store that I'm using to make the magic come out of the potion bottle. And turns out I just needed to wrap the fake snow around itself and it just stayed, so I didn't even need any more glue. I was shocked, but very happy. I then needed more hot glue, but just to put the label onto the potion bottle, and then a happy accident occurred. So when I was scrunching on the label, it was kind of looking a little just too scrunchy, you know what I mean? Like there was some lumps and bumps that were getting in there, but I decided to go in with the umber brown and paint the edges of it so it looks all nice and rustic. And that's the end of this art piece. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see the glamour shots, they're up next.